Hello and welcome to this edition of Potomac Local Live. I'm Uriah Kaiser, publisher of PotomacLocal.com. Joining us today are two candidates running for elected office in Manassas City. The first is Lynn Forkel Green. She is running for the Manassas City Council. And the next is Allie Forkel, who is running for the school board. And if the names haven't caught on yet, they are related. And we will get into that and talk about what it's like to be from the same family running to represent the same city, to serve in the city in which they call home. But thank you so much, both of you, for coming on and wanting to talk about your campaign. Lynn, I will start with you first. You have served on the city council. You're looking to come back onto the city council to continue your service. I'll let you come on and say a little bit about why you're running and who you are.
Thanks, Uriah. Hi, Allie. And hi, everyone out there. My name is Lynn Forkel Green. I'm running for Manassas City Council. I did serve previously for about 14 months when I won a special election. And I'm just continuing my journey to represent all voices from Manassas City at the table. I think most of us feel frustrated on a regular basis that our voices don't seem to be heard while decisions are being made in our city. And that's one of the reasons I'm running. Our families need affordability. We need responsible spending and responsible growth. And we also need to have really excellent schools and infrastructure. And I think some of the things that we could do together is be more planful, more mindful, and more appreciative of our taxpayers.
All right, Lynn, thanks so much for the introduction. Allie, I'll let you talk about your run for school board, who you are, why you're running. Take it away.
Thank you. Hi, guys. I'm Allie Forkel. I'm running for our local Manassas City School Board. I'm a local mom like most of you. I have one daughter who's going to round and a 5-month-old who's going to be class of 2042. As a former Osborne grad and Osborne teacher, I miss the classroom and I want to be involved back again in the community. And I feel I have a unique perspective for our students and our families, being as I was a student and a teacher and a family. I really want to increase our academic and behavioral expectations. Our kids are just so smart and they deserve so much more. And I'm really interested in increasing our post-graduation success, looking at expanding our CTE programs and different ways we can do that within our schools.
So let me go ahead and ask you kind of off the top. You are both related. Lynn, you are Allie's mom. And both of you, I know from work reporting on you before, you come from a line of public service. Public service is in your family. So I'll start with you, Lynn. What is it like for you to be running for a seat on city council while having your daughter running for a seat on the school board, which are two separate boards, but you're running campaigns at the same time to serve the same city? What's that like?
Interesting, actually. I don't think it's something that either of us ever planned for. Super proud of my daughter. Allie is an expert in her own field, in her own right, and she could walk circles around me when it comes to education policy and all of those things. And so she certainly doesn't look to me for that kind of involvement in her campaign. But I think what she maybe might feel is inspired by me, hopefully, that this would be a different way for her to give back to her community. And I'm super proud of her for taking that leap and trying it out.
Allie, are you inspired by your mom, who did serve on the city council and has been, knocking doors, talking with voters for what seems to be several years now as she's been out there serving? What inspiration do you take from your mom?
Definitely her hard work and passion of never giving up. So I've knocked many doors for her. And as I've told her recently, it's very different knocking those doors for yourself. So huge hats off to her and any other candidates who have ran and are running. I think it's a lot to put yourself out there for your community, and I'm inspired.
Let me ask about the issues that are facing the city right now. We have been reporting about the city's continued investments into public projects, especially capital improvements that we've seen, such as the museum, which cost somewhere in the neighborhood of $6 to $7 million. We saw a renovation of City Hall that came in way above budget at about $12 million, and different projects such as Grant Avenue and so on and so forth. And meanwhile, while the tax rate, the city council has reduced the tax rate. Because of increasing property values, the tax bill the people get and have to pay every year continues to go up. So as you're going across the city and you're talking to people at their doors, what are they talking about in terms of cost of living?
I'll start. They are hurting. They are struggling. And the doors are different this year. And I was very bold enough to share that twice this week with both boards. And the doors are different. People are really hurting. Inflation is out of control. Nobody wants to really take responsibility for it. And our city is in a unique position because of the planfulness in past councils and because of our makeup in our city. We have been able to sort of reduce our effects of some of the things that other cities tend to suffer through. So we are in a good spot, and we are a healthy economy here in our city. The council's absolutely right about that. Our economic development is healthy. What's not healthy is our relationship with other people's money. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where we struggle as a city council. Everything sounds like a need. Everything sounds important. And we lack self-control with raising taxes. Even if the rate did not go up, if we know how the math works, it's our responsibility as city council members to make decisions that are going to help our residents out along the way, and by default, our employees.
When you look at some of these projects that have been done recently, and some of the ones I just mentioned, when we talk about the museum or Grant Avenue, we talk about some of the purchases that the city has made when it comes to the old Marsteller Middle School, which is out on there on Route 234 Sudley Road. What stands out at you as some of those nice to haves versus some of the needs that the city really needs to be spending its money on?
So the nice to have would be Manassas Avenue. I think that's outside of the government scope. They should not have purchased that. I've been very vocal about it. I'm not going to hide from that. We're here now, though. They made the decision, and now we need to incorporate our residents and what happens next. That just absolutely needs to happen.
And so when you say Manassas Avenue, we're talking about that shopping center that is home to, there's an Advanced Auto Parts store there. Manassas Shopping Center. And so the city did purchase that it will become the landlord of those businesses until they, I guess, close up shop or go away, with the intention of redeveloping that area to a more urban, walkable apartment complex / streetscape type of thing. So just to clarify for anybody. Yeah. Well, we really don't know what it might be.
We really don't know. So I don't want to opine on what that might be. I haven't not been in those closed door meetings. And if I had, I couldn't share it anyway. So unknown what the future holds for that space. And I definitely think that Manassas City is once again split on how it feels about it. There's a large majority of folks who are very upset that purchase went through when there can't be a real reduction in tax burden, right? If we have all this money, why are we not providing our residents with relief during this economic hardship? And I think people across the political spectrum feel that way. And I have to say, I agree with them. With regards to Marsteller, yes, I think they should have had the residents more involved in that decision. I'm less upset about that one because I know the plan is perhaps to house a fire department. And so it becomes a little bit different when you know that it's for a service that the government is supposed to provide and what our tax dollars is supposed to go for. So less upset about that one, very eager to still be involved as a resident in that decision and hopefully as a council member.
Let me ask now about the schools, because Allie, you're going around and though the issues, people talk about issues, they talk about the city in general, but you are honed in on what affects children. Uh, the 7,000 students in Manassas City Public Schools. What are some of the concerns that you're hearing as you go around talking to them?
Yeah, so our parents definitely want to be involved. And I think that's a big misconception that our parents don't want to be involved, because they do. And so when I'm at the doors knocking about schools, even if some of our residents don't have kids in school, they're very concerned about our school rating and how low it is, and their neighbors leaving to put their kids in other school districts or private schools. And as a resident of Manassas City, our children should be able to go to the school that they're zoned for and have a great experience. And my hope is to help with that. Their other concern was the grading policy has been a very hot topic right now. And our board did do steps to move forward on Tuesday to a proposed option that they kind of came in the middle and collaborated about, which was awesome. So now students don't have the whole quarter to do their work. They have 2 weeks from when the assignment was assigned. And that's a big step for students and parents to help stay on top of the work and to keep those grades in. As a parent, if my kid's stuff isn't being graded for 8 weeks, I don't know if she turned it in. I don't know if she failed. I don't know if she needs to be remediated. So we can't ask parents to be involved if we can't keep them updated. And same for students. My daughter struggles with timelines and guidelines to turn work in. So her having those visuals and knowing the exact expectations really helps me help her to be successful. And she's like, okay, on Thursday, this assignment is due. On Friday, this assignment is due. So the grade floor and the students being walking around in Old Town instead of in class and in the schools has been a very hot topic with our residents as well.
Oh, you're right. I don't think we can hear your question if you're asking
Like,
one.
you're talking, I can't hear you.
Sorry.
Sorry about that. My fault. I was muted. I want to dive in on that grading scale thing, because that was approved this week at the school board. And what it does, the board approved option B, which gives full credit for assignments completed within 2 weeks after the initial due date and before the end of the quarter. So first of all, and I may, I'll be the guy that says, well, back in my day, right? Back in my day, teachers would give you homework. They'd send you home. And if you didn't have it the next day, you'd probably get a 0 or you'd probably get an F, depending upon whatever, rating scale that you were on at the time. So how did we get here? How did we get to the point where kids have 2 weeks or more, and before this, to the end, what it sounded like is that students had to the end of the quarter to continue to hand in any assignment that was given to them. And also, as we've reported before, they had unlimited chances to retake tests in hopes of getting a better grade. That's not something that we had back in my day. So walk me through, how did we get here?
I'm not exactly sure how we got here prior to COVID. I know the state and stuff was moving towards standards-based grading and understanding the standards versus just monotonous worksheets and work that really wasn't meaningful. And I can get behind that. If all you're doing is worksheet after worksheet and you're not truly learning the material as an educator, I'm bored and the student is bored. So that's not actual learning. And I do think they were trying to move more towards equitable grading. Then COVID happened and none of us knew what to do. When the students were learning online and the whole world had to make an educational shift overnight, I believe that grade scale was put in place with the best interest for the students when we didn't know what to expect.
And you were a teacher in Manassas when COVID hit, right?
Yes, I was. I taught online and my students struggled because it was math online. So now you're learning math on Zoom, and that's hard enough in the classroom versus online. Actually, so print off their packets and go drive them to their houses and drop off our units. So that way we could learn more effectively together. And so I do think the kids needed more time to complete assignments. Our older students were also helping their younger students at home while parents worked, while everybody was online. So it really was a different time for the educational world. When we transitioned back to the classroom, though, these policies should have been looked at again and revised to what the students were actually doing. So I think this is a great first step that the board is making for what will probably need multiple revisions, because no policy is going to change or be perfect overnight. In a
Yeah.
perfect
No.
world, they would only
So are you happy? I mean, is the school board moving in the right direction with what it did on Tuesday?
Yes, I believe so. I think it's going to be incremental baby steps to get to where, a majority of people are happy. We're never going to please everyone. And, as a teacher, I did things very differently in my classroom. I had high expectations. We had those things. And then, of course, there was leniency for the students who needed help to catch up, right? And everybody kind of has a different educational philosophy, but a policy should be the policy so we can hold students and teachers accountable. And when I spoke on Tuesday, and in my email to the board, I even said, we need to hold teachers accountable. You can't have teachers who don't grade till the last minute, and then you want the kids to turn in work. So everybody plays a role, and everybody needs to be held accountable. And I do know that in the works behind the scenes, they are working on a remediation policy that will help clarify those guidelines, because right now they're so vague about remediation and retakes, and they're actually going to look at them by grade bands, which I think is great, because that would actually be age appropriate. What K through 2 needs to remediate is not what a ninth grader needs. So putting those policies in by grade bands will definitely be a huge step.
While we're talking, I just pulled up a story here that we reported back in January about Mets and their scores declining. And then this was a presentation that was made at the school board. And there was a lot of discussion within this topic about if English as a second language learners are holding others back, if teachers are putting in too much time focusing on helping kids that really can't speak English, really aren't up to par with some of maybe more the other students in the class. And there was a call maybe to separate those kids out. And that sparked a big debate on our site as to whether or not you should serve everybody or maybe serve remove the kids who need the extra help and serve them and get them the help they need separately. Where do you come on this? I mean, you talked about seeing the scores improve. What's dragging down the city's school scores, and what can be done to make them better?
Personally, I think it's our lack of accountability. When I went to Osborne, if I didn't do my work, my teacher asked me why, and I had to stay after school and get help and turn it in. It wasn't you don't have to do it. You automatically got a 50. You could turn it in whenever. And as much as those teachers maybe weren't my favorite in the moment, they were the ones who made the biggest impact. And for our schools, I don't believe separating children just because based on their learning disabilities or their language is the appropriate thing, because they're not separated in the real world. Everybody goes to work together, right? Everybody lives in a community together. I do think you can pull students out for remediation at certain times, and there could be we need inclusive schools for academic settings, whether you have learning problems or language. We could work with our CLTs better to make sure everybody had the correct materials, because Manassas City has a ton of awesome resources and programs that we pay for. I just don't think they're always utilized where we need them when we need them.
I want to switch gears and talk about the collaboration between the school board and the city council. We've been reporting a lot on Dean and that new school that will be built at Jenny Dean Park. Both boards, the school board and the city council, went back and forth over this for many years. It wasn't a short amount of time, and we've been reporting on the rebuild of Dean Elementary School for as far back as I can remember. And we know that the city council years ago allocated some additional funding, and the school division took that funding. And so just really quickly, the schools get their funding from federal and state, but a lot of it, the majority of it comes from the city council. And so the city council at one point allocated some additional funding for Dean. It wasn't spent, according to Councilman Mark Wolf, on the project at the time. And so that went for many years, the two governing bodies going back and forth. But we have designs approved. It looks like we are moving forward, but it wasn't an easy process to get here. Lynn, what should be done if you get on the council and you are running with a slate of other Republicans who seek to take a majority on the council? What will be done differently when you guys get on when it comes to working with the school board?
Well, first of all, I think I want to give credit where credit is due, so it doesn't look like I'm, overly harsh. The council over the past 6 or 7, 8 years has worked very hard to create a more friendly relationship with the school board, where they're not just meeting to talk about money and budget and finance, but that they're communicating throughout the course of the year about their needs and about any constraints that we have. And so I think that's been really beneficial. And I give a lot of credit to most of the council people that I've worked with over that time have been supportive of that process. So I think what we would do is just take it forward to a different level where it's more planful. I think one of the misses with Jenny Dean was we were working from some old documents, and it was a school board that had never built a school before, a council that maybe has turnover every 2 years, and so somewhere along the line there was a document that we all thought we were working from on council, and on school board they didn't really know about that document. So I think just improving the planfulness and the comprehensive structure of those discussions when we're building schools would be something that I think myself and those I'm running with would be putting forth as a priority. And I think that would allow for the respect factor to come along, and for the school board to be able to appreciate what goes along into the planning of a school and how many pieces fall in there, and the responsibilities of balancing the assets that we have as a city and our responsibilities to the schools really impact everybody. And so we must work together, whether or not we should be taking over a park for a school. If that's the only place for the school, then we have to make that hard decision. But if it's not, then we need to be more thoughtful so that we can maintain both assets. And so those resources are available to every resident and student and family. I can't hear you now. You're on mute.
Yep, there I go again. So that was central to the debate as to whether or not to build the school essentially on parkland, which the city doesn't have a lot of. It's this 10 square mile city, and it's not getting any bigger. So build the new school on the existing Jenny Dean Park, which is the city's sort of central park, this largest park, or build it somewhere else. Lynn, you've been critical of the city purchasing. You were critical about building on the park. You also critical about giving up some of the E.G. Smith ball field complex to Micron, which will now build a facility. Whether I'm not exactly sure, maybe it's well, as you know, Micron does computer chip manufacturing, so they're going to take over they have a contract to take over what was a ball field at the E.G. Smith complex right there on Route 28 and Godwin Drive. You were critical about that, and you've been critical, as we mentioned earlier, about these other purchases such as Mathis and Marsteller, and so you were on Parks and Rec. You were on that commission. When you look at land use in the city, where should some of these things go? If the city's going to continue to grow, it wants more businesses, and data centers are popping up everywhere, and so it looks like cities, and we have some coming into the city. So what areas do you think in Manassas are right for development, and what areas should we keep parkland or rural?
Any parkland that we have needs a really good reason why we would get rid of it, period. I don't think that's a Republican or Democrat issue. I think our environment's really important. And I think I was surprised to hear anybody when I first started running going like, why do you care about parks so much? And I'm like, why don't you? Our green space is really important, not only to the beauty of our city, but to the recreation, the health and welfare of our residents. And we learned more about that in COVID when we were forced to stay inside and we really needed to be outside. So I think we need to have those spaces. It's a mental health situation. It's a health and wellness situation. I believe in the healthy eating, active living program that was established under Parks and Rec while I was there. And I think we partnered with that program. And I think that that's really important. We push forward walking to work. We push forward biking to work. We push forward all these initiatives. So if we don't protect our parkland, then it's just for nothing, to be honest, because we're not doing everything we can to complete the mission of making sure we have a well-rounded community. So I don't want to say that we don't have places for development, because we absolutely do. I'm not anti-progress or anti-growth. I'm for responsible growth. I think it should be mindful and planful. And I think we should revisit those more than every 5 years, in the sense of, just because it's in the comprehensive plan doesn't mean we shouldn't deviate if we know something else is coming along. And sometimes those people know that because they're behind closed doors and our residents don't know that. And so we need to be more mindful and hold ourselves accountable to sort of changing our position on something when it's going to help the entire community, much like reducing 2 lanes of traffic on Grant Avenue in front of Georgetown South. After, in the late 80s, early 90s, we spent $1 million as taxpayers expanding that for the very same reasons that we have now taken them away. And I'm very confused by that. I'm told that I'm going to one day wake up and love it. So we're going to hope that that's true, and that they prove me wrong. With regards to the Jenny Dean, I wasn't opposed to building the school. I think, in my view, and probably what city council members thought is, and I think maybe I wrote this in an article, the idea was it was a school in the middle of a park, and the school felt like the park was with the school. The school was more important than the park, and not really more important, but they didn't view it as the school sat at the park. So it was never meant for the school to take over the park. And it was never meant for the park to take over the school. It was meant for that to synergize. And I think what ended up being different was when a very new school board that had never built a school before found something they really liked, thought it was going to serve their student body well, and they didn't realize that that went over the footprint that council had always worked with and Parks and Rec had always worked with. So I think that was the true complication of that build. And I think we're probably still seeing a little bit of that complication with what do we do next? What do we do with other things? But I'm super pleased and energized that we're doing the dig over there. We're being very, very thoughtful about the historic significance of the artifacts that could still be there. And, that's something all of our residents should be super proud about.
Yeah, and I don't want to. We've never made any bones about the fact that you have been a reporter for Potomac Local. You, when you were, and you wrote for us for many years. You stopped when you started campaigning for your first term, which you won on the city council, and when you served that term, and when you did not win re-election, you came back and wrote some more from us, and we appreciate that. But as soon as you announced you were going to run, you stopped writing for us, and you became Lynn Forkel Green, the political candidate again. So we've never shied away from that. And you bring that up. When you said you wrote that in an article. Let me ask about data centers, because we've got one coming on Dean Drive, right near Dean Park. We've got another one coming to the airport. And then someone put a bug in my ear about maybe the possibility of redeveloping the Euclid corridor for this type of development. And so when it comes to data centers, we know that politicians in our area love the dollar signs. They get dollar signs in their eyes about how much tax revenue these centers are going to produce, and how how it's such a great thing because they don't produce a lot of traffic, because they don't create a lot of jobs. These massive buildings, these 80-foot tall buildings, the size of multiple football fields, some of them don't require a lot of people to maintain them or run them. They're really just stacked to the rafters with computer servers. And so some some politicians will argue that, which we just reported in Fredericksburg, that they're going to look at the possibility of bringing data centers into their city, and they always use the job creation element of it. So I guess it's a two-part question. Should the city be looking at bringing more of these data centers into its area, again, 10 square miles, and we're seeing them pop up all over the county. And so if anybody's listening to this and thinking, well, wait a minute, Manassas has a ton of data centers. Well, actually, the ones that you're seeing mostly are in Prince William County on the border areas of the city of Manassas. So should Manassas itself be looking to bring more of these data centers in? And then the jobs, is that a viable argument?
Well, I don't think construction jobs are long-term jobs in this area. Most of the construction work we tend to hire out. They come in, they bring the resources from other places. If we don't have the team here available, we always have a lot of construction in this area. And as you know, the pipeline there is just like every other industry. People are looking for people all the time. So I think construction jobs are important to any economy, and I'd love to have that. But when that construction work is over, when that project is complete, they are gone. And so that means the job disappears. And you need, I don't know, 3 to 5 people, probably 2 maybe that are remote, and then maybe some security people that are taking care of these buildings. So I think the job creation isn't really something that's associated with the data center. I think people understand that. What I think is missing, and I think Prince William County is missing it too, is really a policy. And they've taken on their direction that they're going to go in spite of what their residents were calling for, and that's disappointing. I was hoping that because Manassas was a little behind Prince William County, that our council would have developed a policy. It seems like what they're doing is they are relying on land use matters to say, well, if it's already zoned industrial, then it doesn't go through a public hearing process, and so therefore it just goes through the application process with our staff. I don't even think it comes in front of the city council unless there's changes to that normal process. And if I had been on council, I would have urged the council members, and may have done that behind closed doors. Maybe I made a phone call or two, but I thought there should have been a policy put in place, mainly because our residents are losing their voice in that process. But it is not meant to cut the resident out. It's meant to just keep the land use matter the same. It's already by right. And so, unfortunately, that's just where Manassas City lies. And that's why that Euclid corridor would be advantageous, because there would be no public hearing. It's already industrial. But that's a lot of jobs to lose in that corridor after the construction. So I hope that we find a balance. And for the environment, I hope we find a balance. And because our residents don't want to be run over with data centers, I hope we find a balance.
Let me switch gears and talk about public safety. I was talking to Robin Williams, who is currently on the school board and is running for a city council seat. And she tells me that when she goes out, she's hearing about crime and public safety as a concern amongst a lot of residents. And so I ran the numbers. I pulled up the 2019 Manassas City crime report and compared it with the 23. And actually crime in Manassas City has gone down in that amount of time. But on the reverse, in Prince William County, just right across the line, and again, most people don't ever really truly go to bed at night thinking, yeah, I live in Manassas City, I don't live in Prince William County. It's all the same for most people. And crime has gone up in Prince William County from 2019 to 2023. Violent crime went up 70%. And so we're just, are you hearing what Ms. Williams told us? Are you hearing about crime? And Allie, you've been quiet for a while, so I'll ask you first. When it comes to safety and safety of schools, Manassas was the first to implement the metal detectors at Osborne High School. Prince William County followed up and put it at all of their high schools and middle schools. So I've been through the metal detector at Osborne. When I went through, I kind of noticed that the nice lady who was running it was kind of overwhelmed. She was checking ID. She was talking to kids. She was looking 4 or 5 different directions. We've heard that some of them are on at part of the day. Some days other metal detectors maybe not get turned on at all. What are you hearing? Do you think it was a good thing that Manassas was the first to install these and has this technology? Is it working?
Yes, I actually was super proud of us for being the first one. Normally you hear, oh, Manassas City followed Prince William County, and I'm competitive, so I was proud we were the first. And yes, I do think they made a difference. They are actually more like airport security, so weapon detectors, they scan, they see different things. As with anything, we did have a few hiccups and learning curves when they first were put in place. We had to have enough staff and enough security. At Osborne, at least, we had contracted out security to help us. And then, we learned they couldn't do everything that we needed them to do. So the school board decided to end that contract, and we're now hiring in-house security. So Osborne will have 10 security officers for this upcoming school year, which is awesome to help with all of that. And I recently found out that last school year for 23-24, there were 0 weapons that were out in Osborne during class due to them being able to scan and grab stuff. And we had expulsion hearings, of course, but we didn't have any because of weapons being brought in and used. So I do think that they were a big asset. And we are, even at Osborne, I was excited to hear through the grapevine that we are going to enclose that parking lot between the 2 buildings. So the students will no longer have to walk outside. Well, they will while it's built, but once it's built, they will just be in Osborne, and there's no longer a reason to leave to get to class, which I hope will help keep them in school. So the board is moving forward, and I hope to, be on and help those policies fine tune and continue to be great.
Yeah. Well, we've been doing some reporting about Amy Ashworth and the Commonwealth Attorney for the city of Manassas, for Prince William County as well, and some of the controversial policies that she has that we've seen. For instance, we saw a gentleman by the name of Justin Burns who was walking downtown Manassas in December and was struck and killed outside of the Old Town Sports Pub while just crossing the street. And the person whom they charged with the crime, they put him in jail for about 24 hours and then let him out. And then when it came, they wanted to talk to him again. They went to his home, arrested him, brought him back to jail, talked to him, and let him out. And so his person charged, in a homicide. And so while we're seeing crime, the statistics for the city of Manassas go down, crime in Prince William County has gone up. And these policies that we're seeing from the Commonwealth Attorney's Office or almost these catch and release policies that we've been reporting on the council, how will you work with the Commonwealth Attorney to make sure that the criminals who are found guilty or are charged with the crime actually go to jail and stay there until they get their fair day in court?
Yeah. I mean, people don't understand the difference between the county line and the city, and we have lots of tree lines, and it makes it difficult. And also, it doesn't matter if the crime is just a street over, you still feel unsafe. And so we have to take this very seriously when our residents at the door are basically doing their own research, and they can find out that within 1 year, crime in their area, an area could be, in a mile radius around their house, which could also and mostly does include the county on some of the doors we've been knocking. They're ready to leave, and they are leaving. And so we have a situation where our Commonwealth Attorney's Office is setting the tone. And just because they might not be charging for crimes, which means you won't get it on a report, doesn't mean crimes aren't happening. It just means that they're not being charged. And people are feeling the uptick of feeling unsafe and of crimes happening, whether or not they're being, prosecuted is the question. Now, I know our police department works really hard to partner with the county and the surrounding areas and our Commonwealth Attorney's Office. So I would be looking to have those hard discussions with City Council and our right now interim city manager and our new city manager to see what we can do. And obviously, the residents in the surrounding area of Prince William County and Manassas City and Manassas Park, if they're not happy with these policies, then they need to vote Amy Ashworth out when it's time, because it's very limited to what you can do as a council member if she doesn't want to change her policies in her office. That's just really, your hands are tied, and I
It's
can't
her
blame
office. She's an elected official.
other elected officials. We can do our best. Her office, and she's an elected official, and the other elected officials have to work with her, but we can't really make her change her policies. The pressure from the community, give her a call, send her a letter, let her know you don't like it. I know the residents reached out to her with regards to the shooting at the mall, and they didn't like the answer they got when she blamed it on a judge. So
yeah, and that's what we've been reporting on. We had that shooting at Manassas Mall earlier this month, where 2 people were injured in a shooting in the Manassas Mall, again in Prince William County, but its name is the Manassas Mall. I mean, so obviously people are going to associate that with the city, and that was her. You're absolutely right. We did some reporting on that. Channel 4 actually.
Our residents were there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so, but she did blame the judge for letting one of the 5 suspects in that case, who had been charged with a violent crime in the fall of 2023, who had been released on bond, only to come and now be charged in this shooting at Manassas Mall. It was something that a lot of people were very surprised to learn, and what story we'll keep reporting about. As we wrap up here, ladies, I want to give you a chance to kind of wrap it up and tell us why people should vote for you. Lynn, I'll let you go ahead, and then Allie, I'll let you go. And just in the end, why should we vote for you?
I'm just dedicated to continuing to serve the citizens and residents of Manassas City. I believe in transparency, integrity, and passion, and I bring those things. I think without passion, you're really not motivated to do what you need to do. And I want our city to be stronger and more prosperous. And I think we can do that together. I think most of us want the same things. It's just how we do it. And I've always said, I bring the skill sets to make the hard decisions that we need to make, to be focused on the needs and not just the wants, but to be planning for the wants, and to continue to make our city a fantastic place to live, work, and play. And I want our families to feel safe here, to feel secure here, to feel welcome here, and to know that their children are going to have a top-notch education, and that they're going to be able to grow up here and possibly raise their children here if they so desire. And that's one thing that I was able to do, and I'm very thankful for it. And I hope that I can earn your vote. And if I see you at the doors soon, please share with me all of your concerns. And if not, reach out to me. I can be reached pretty easily. And you can find most of my information at lynnformanassascity.com.
All right. And Allie, I'll let you go ahead and let the voters know why they should vote for you.
I'm definitely hoping to earn the support and votes of my local neighbors. And definitely, I think it's important that we have different views on the board. For myself, I give you 3 very different views. I am an Osborne grad, 2010. So once an Eagle, always an Eagle. I worked at an alternative school before I came home to Vanessa, teach at Osborne for 6 years. And I've worked both with our special ed community and our general population. And I'm a parent. I'm putting, my money where my mouth is. I have a 4th grader at Brown, so I'm vested in our students' future. I definitely have learned that this race has become a little bit more political than it should be for the local boards. I'm not up the ticket. I'm your local school board. I'm your neighbor. I'm a mom. I'm on the PTO. So I hope people really do their research on the candidates. And for school board, you get 4 votes. You can vote for whichever 4 you like. And I definitely hope you use your final vote for Forkel.
All right. Well, both ladies, thank you for coming on and talking with us today. And we really appreciate your insights on all the issues that are facing the city. I'm sure our viewers find it very helpful.
Thank you so much, Uriah. We really appreciate it. And obviously, she's better at this than I am. So vote for Forkel for your final vote.
All right. All right. Well, thank you all so very much for joining us on this episode of Potomac Local Live. If you do not already get our free daily news email, please go to potomaclocalnews.com and click on newsletter and sign up for that free daily news email. We send all the news that's from our website. We work very hard to put it on there for you, and we send it out to your email every day about 4 o'clock. And if you do like what we do, and if you want to support our work, please do become a member by going to potomaclocal.com, clicking on members, and sign up. We have memberships that start at just $9 a month, and you will get 100% access to everything that we put on our site and send out in that day's news email. We'll make sure that you, when you click it, you can read it. No more paywall. So thank you so much for everything you guys do to support us. And we will continue to bring you the important local news and information that you have come to expect from us here at Potomac Local. Have a great day.